Have you ever heard of manuscripts so dangerous that they were locked away for centuries in secret vaults, hidden from the eyes of the world? Some say that those who read them go insane. Others claim they carry curses that haunt generations. But what if I told you these manuscripts are real, and they hide truths that could change everything you believe? In this video, you'll uncover the darkest, most forbidden secrets in human history. Revelations you won't easily find out there. And trust me, what's coming next is not for the faint of heart. So if you're passionate about real mysteries, historical conspiracies, and buried truths, hit that subscribe button and drop a like, because here we investigate what most people would rather keep hidden. Get ready, because what you're about to see might never leave your mind. The story of the cursed manuscripts begins long before our modern era, in times when knowledge was considered sacred or far too dangerous to be revealed. Some of these texts emerged in ancient civilizations like Sumer, ancient Egypt, and Babylon, written on clay tablets, scrolls, or sealed books marked with enigmatic symbols. They spoke of forbidden magic, entities from other dimensions, or even formulas capable of altering the human mind. What makes these manuscripts so feared isn't just what is written in them, but who wrote them. Reclusive monks, rogue occultists, alchemists hunted by the Inquisition, and even leaders of secret cults, all left behind fragments of a knowledge so dark, many believe it was inspired by forces beyond human comprehension. Some of these texts have no known author. Others appeared mysteriously with no record of where they were found, as if they had simply manifested into the world. And when people began to read them, strange things started to happen. From this point on, what was once just paper and ink turned into a real-life nightmare. But that is what we'll explore in the next section. If all of this were just legend, perhaps these cursed manuscripts wouldn't inspire so much fear. But throughout history, there have been real accounts of people who suffered serious consequences after encountering these enigmatic texts. One of the most well-known cases is that of astrologer John Dee, advisor to Queen Elizabeth I. In 1552, he discovered a manuscript called the Book of Soyga, filled with incomprehensible symbols, numerical tables, and untranslated words. Fascinated, he spent months trying to decode it. But over time, he began reporting disturbing visions and paranormal experiences, shadowy figures visiting him at night, whispering in unknown tongues. Shortly before his death, the book mysteriously vanished, as if it had never existed. Curiously, it was only rediscovered centuries later, under mysterious circumstances. Another example is Wilfrid Voynich, the historian who found the enigmatic Voynich Manuscript, still considered undecipherable to this day. Wilfrid became obsessed with the book's contents, which seemed to be written in a language no one on Earth could understand. As years passed, he became increasingly isolated, aged rapidly, and began showing signs of paranoia. He died without ever making sense of a single page, surrounded by notes covered in strange symbols and illustrations that defied logic. And perhaps the most sinister case involves the Codex Gigas, also known as the Devil's Bible. Legend says it was written by a condemned monk who made a pact with Lucifer himself to finish the manuscript in a single night. The result was a massive book with a demonic illustration at its center and a history marked by tragedy. Monasteries that housed it caught fire, entire libraries were destroyed, and people connected to the book died under unexplained circumstances. To this day, some researchers refuse to even touch it, afraid of the consequences. Coincidence? Psychological effect? Or is there something within these manuscripts that was never meant to be accessed? In the next section, we'll explore exactly what's written inside these texts and why so many believe their words carry real, powerful curses. Now we come to the darkest and most intriguing part of these manuscripts. What is really written in them? What do these texts hold that could be so powerful and dangerous? What do scholars and occultists fear discovering the most? Well, although most cursed manuscripts are nearly illegible or written in ancient and unknown languages, the few we've managed to decipher reveal something far deeper than mere stories or prayers. Many of these books speak of arcane rituals, black magic capable of summoning beings from other worlds and forbidden knowledge about life and death. Take the Codex Gigas, for example. The famous illustration of a grotesque demon appears right at the center of the book. It's not just a simple medieval tale. It contains invocations and mystical formulas that speak of pacts with forces beyond human comprehension. It is believed that the monk who wrote it used the book in an attempt to gain power, even immortality, or at least that's what he believed. For many scholars, the content of the Codex Gigas is a manual for communicating with demonic entities, offering power to those who can interpret it correctly. But that's not all. The Voynich Manuscript, which still defies all attempts at translation, may be the most dangerous of them all. Despite its indecipherable text, the images in the book show unknown plants, astrological maps, and diagrams that appear to be related to esoteric rituals. Some theorists suggest that the book is a key to open doors to alternative dimensions, other realities, or even other times. And perhaps that's why no human has been able to understand its content. Maybe we weren't meant to. The Book of Soyga, in turn, is filled with mysterious tables where numbers and letters intertwine to create codes that are impossible to crack. But what's even more curious is that, according to legend, those who try to understand these formulas may end up drawing terrible consequences upon themselves, as if the book itself was some kind of portal that opens to something far greater than mere knowledge. In short, the true nature of these manuscripts seems to be more than just words on pages. They are codes for understanding what lies beyond the physical world. For those brave or insane enough to decipher them, the promise of absolute power or the risk of eternal loss of sanity are always present. Now the question remains, what more powerful and terrifying things might these texts reveal? And what might they awaken the moment they are fully understood? Now you must be wondering, why were these manuscripts hidden or destroyed? What's so threatening about these texts that such an effort was made to erase them from history? The answer is not simple, but it starts to make sense when we look at the power these manuscripts carry. A power that goes beyond what any ruler or religious institution could control. In many cases, the texts were hidden or destroyed because they contained forbidden knowledge, truths that challenged the established authority of their time. If you stop to think about it, the medieval church, for example, had absolute control over knowledge and education. Any information that didn't align with the dogmas of the Christian faith was seen as heresy and therefore subject to extinction. Many of these manuscripts, written by scholars, alchemists, and magicians, contained teachings that directly opposed what the church wanted people to believe. The Codex Gigas, for example, is considered one of the most cursed books precisely because of its heretical nature. It wasn't just a book of prayers or common wisdom. It contained rituals that challenged the Christian view of life and death. And some parts of the book were seen as a manual for summoning demonic entities, something absolutely unacceptable to the church. It's no wonder that over the centuries, the book was locked away, lost, and kept out of public view, as if it were being kept secret by the highest powers. Other texts, like the Voynich Manuscript, were hidden or even destroyed for equally dark reasons. The most fascinating theory about the Voynich is that it was actually created as a document of secret wisdom for an occult society. Alchemists and magicians may have deliberately written the book to prevent it from being read by untrained eyes, a sort of secret code meant to protect ancient knowledge. If that's the case, the fact that the manuscript has survived to this day is nothing short of a miracle. But is there anyone who truly wants to see this book completely deciphered? And if it were to be unraveled, could it reveal secrets capable of destabilizing the world order? Moreover, we cannot forget texts like the Book of Soyga, which were destroyed by specific orders, possibly from political or religious forces who feared the impact of what could be revealed to the public. This is because the very existence of texts that spoke about contact with beings from other dimensions, or the manipulation of human destiny, was a danger to the powerful of the time. A truth like that could not be made public. Chaos would be imminent. The fear wasn't just in the words of these manuscripts, but in the possibility that the knowledge contained within them could be used to manipulate the masses, open portals to other realities, or even conquer the world in ways no authority wanted to allow. These books, therefore, weren't just hidden by accident. They were erased, burned, and concealed in the shadows to ensure no one else would have access to the power they offered. But what if someone had the courage to try to decipher them again? What would happen if these secrets were finally revealed? Now you might be wondering, could all of this just be a product of imagination? Are the stories of curses, disturbing visions, and inexplicable deaths merely the result of a collective madness? Or is there something deeper and truer behind these accounts? Science has tried to explain the effects of these manuscripts, but as we will see, the answers are both intriguing and terrifying. Psychologists and neuroscientists have been trying for centuries to understand why people who come into contact with these texts seem to be so affected. Some explanations suggest that by exposing the human brain to symbols and incomprehensible words, the brain experiences a cognitive breakdown, trying to find patterns where none exist, causing what they call a perception disorder. This might explain the hallucinations and visions that some scholars, like John Dee and Wilfred Voynich, experienced. But what is even more curious is that this theory doesn't fully explain the great coincidence that several people who came into contact with these texts experienced the same kinds of phenomena. Visions of shadowy figures, disturbing dreams, and even dramatic psychological changes, as if something external were affecting their minds in a tangible way. Another intriguing point is the psychological effect some of these texts have on individuals. The complex symbols and diagrams that appear in the Voynich Manuscript and the Codex Gigas, for example, are so unusual and unsettling that they can induce a state of extreme disorientation. It's as if the human mind simply isn't prepared to process the content of these books, and the reaction is almost physiological, leading to mental disorders. However, many believe the answer doesn't lie in the laws of psychology, but in something much more sinister. Occult theorists argue that these manuscripts are not just ordinary texts, but portals to alternate realities, connecting the physical world to the supernatural. They suggest that by opening or reading these texts, the reader isn't merely engaging with words. They are, in fact, opening doors to dimensions or entities that do not belong to this world. Taking the Codex Gigas as an example, some people believe that the book itself acts as a channel for forces beyond our understanding. The image of the demon at the center of the book wouldn't just be an illustration, but a representation of a real force waiting to be released. Some claim that reading the book could disrupt the balance between worlds, creating an inexplicable chaos in the mind of the reader. This could explain, for example, the sense of losing control that many experienced when studying these texts. And of course, there are those who believe that the true reason for the devastating effects of these manuscripts lies in their non-verbal content. The words, the symbols, the formulas, everything printed in these books could carry a magnetic power that cannot be translated into human terms, something that can affect the mind in ways we still cannot fully comprehend. So, the question remains, do these texts really possess some kind of malevolent energy that affects those who read them? Or are we victims of our own psyche, trying to make sense of the inexplicable? The only certainty is that, while science attempts to unravel these mysteries, the manuscripts continue to hold secrets that, perhaps, we should never try to uncover. Among the many cursed manuscripts that exist, there are some that stand out not only because of the obscurity of their content, but also because of the legend and fear that surround them. These texts, in addition to being shrouded in mystery, have such terrifying stories that seem to defy any rational explanation. Let's explore some of the most feared manuscripts and what makes them so dangerous. The most famous of all is undoubtedly the Voynich Manuscript. This book was discovered in 1912 by an antiquarian named Wilfrid Voynich, and to this day, no one has been able to decipher the language and symbols it contains. What makes this manuscript even more intriguing is not just the fact that it is indecipherable, but the strange and disturbing images scattered across its pages. Unknown plants, astrological diagrams, and human figures seemingly engaged in mystical rituals. The legend says the book is a portal to a parallel reality or even another dimension. And despite all the work by cryptographers and scholars, the content remains inaccessible, raising a chilling question. Should we really try to understand what's in it? Another manuscript that carries an aura of danger is the Codex Gigas, also known as the Devil's Bible. This book, which contains over 600 pages, is famous primarily for its central illustration, which shows a demonic figure with wings and a threatening gaze sitting at the center of the work. The story behind this book is as macabre as its appearance. According to legend, a monk condemned for his sins made a pact with the devil himself to finish the book in a single night. Apparently, this book contains supernatural rituals and invocations, a manual for interacting with the beyond. From the moment the book was completed, stories of mysterious deaths and fires began spreading wherever the codex was stored. Fact or fiction? Whatever the answer, the mere presence of this book evokes fear to this day. We cannot forget the Book of Soyga, another manuscript that carries the shadow of a curse. This book, written in Latin, contains tables and symbols that seem impossible to decipher. It was found by John Dee, the renowned astrologer and occultist of the 16th century, who believed the book contained knowledge capable of invoking spiritual entities and altering reality. Dee spent years trying to understand the book's content, but in the end, he distanced himself from it, fearing what might happen if he discovered its secrets. Many scholars believe that the Book of Soyga was an attempt to conceal an ancient and forbidden knowledge, a wisdom that, if revealed, could bring irreversible consequences to the modern world. In addition to these, there are other manuscripts, like the Turin Papyrus, the Riga Manuscript, and many more, that continue to fuel legends of wizards, occultists, and even demons who supposedly use them. Some of these texts are so obscure that their stories seem to be swallowed by time, yet they remain pursued and feared by those seeking to uncover what lies beyond known reality. What makes these manuscripts so terrifying is not just what they contain, but the mystery of who wrote them, and the forces that, according to legend, still haunt these books. Why were they written? Who created them? And why do they continue to exert so much power and fear over those who dare to study them? The only certainty we have is that these books are not just pages and ink. They are portals to something we don't fully understand, and perhaps it's better that we never try. What happens to the people who dare to approach these cursed manuscripts? Well, the impact on the lives of those who try to decipher them or study their contents is profoundly disturbing and often irreversible. We're not talking about simple, difficulties in interpretation, but about radical changes in psychology and even health for those who dedicate time and energy to understanding these enigmatic texts. One of the most emblematic cases is that of John Dee, the astrologer at Queen Elizabeth I's court. After finding the Book of Soyga, Dee became obsessed with its content. He spent years trying to decipher it, but strange things started happening in his life. Night visions, delusions, and the sense that supernatural forces were communicating with him began to intensify. His mental and physical health rapidly deteriorated, and many of his followers began to report that Dee was no longer the rational and controlled man they once knew. He distanced himself from many of his friends and collaborators, becoming increasingly isolated. Historians still debate whether his obsession with this book led him to madness. Another standout case is that of Wilfrid Voynich, the antiquarian who discovered the Voynich Manuscript. As we know, this book remains indecipherable. However, Voynich became fully dedicated to studying the manuscript, searching for clues that could reveal its secret. Over time, he became obsessed with the book, and his health also suffered a significant impact. Friends and family reported that he began to exhibit strange behavior, increasing anxiety, isolation, and even an irrational fear that unknown forces were pursuing him. He died without deciphering the manuscript, and his obsession with it became a tragic mark on his life. And perhaps the most striking is the impact of the Codex Gigas on those who come into contact with it. Over the centuries, several people who handled the book, whether in libraries or museums, reported inexplicable and terrifying experiences. Some claim they felt an oppressive pressure upon opening the book, as if an invisible force were trying to dominate them. There are even accounts of people saying that simply looking at the central demonic figure caused a deep sense of dread, as though they were invading a sacred or forbidden space. And as if that weren't enough, some say that reading the book can trigger a spiral of tragedies, accidents, losses, or even mysterious illnesses. The case of the Voynich Manuscript is even more curious. There are reports of scholars who, after spending years trying to decipher it, developed severe mental disorders, including hallucinations of people and places that never existed. Some of its researchers reported feelings of being pursued by a supernatural force, as if the book were becoming more than just an incomprehensible work, but rather a force field altering the reality perception of those trying to understand its pages. And of course, many contemporary scholars who have tried to study these texts continue to be marked by bizarre experiences. Some claim that upon handling the Codex Gigas or the Book of Soyga, they felt a strange and dense energy in the air, as if they were touching something beyond human comprehension. There are even those who say that after long periods of studying these books, they began to have vivid dreams of unknown creatures or parallel dimensions, a constant sensation that they were on the verge of breaking the barrier between the physical and the supernatural. Are these psychological and physical transformations merely a result of human psychology, a reaction to an obsession with something impossible to comprehend? Or is there something supernatural in these books that in some way alters the reality of those who read them? Whatever the answer, the impact of these manuscripts on the lives of those who try to decipher them is real and disturbing. And the question that lingers is it worth the risk? Although the cursed manuscripts are part of a dark history filled with mysteries, their impact is not limited to the pages of the books or the scholars who dared to study them. These powerful texts have left a lasting legacy in popular culture, influencing everything from films and TV series to games and literature. The fascination with these mysterious books has fueled a myriad of myths and legends, and the stories associated with them continue to attract new followers and curious minds around the world. One of the most obvious and direct examples of this legacy is the impact of the Codex Gigas on cinema and literature. Horror films often draw inspiration from the legend of the Bible of the Devil to create plots revolving around demonic pacts and cursed books. Works such as The Exorcist and The Omen borrow the concept of a forbidden book that has the power to release evil forces, something that is undoubtedly a reflection of the Codex Gigas legend. The image of the demon at the center of the book is also frequently evoked in horror films, creating an atmosphere of immense fear and unpredictability. Furthermore, the Voynich Manuscript has been a constant source of inspiration for writers and filmmakers. Its indecipherable nature, bizarre images, and strange symbols have made it the center of plots about incomprehensible mysteries. Books and films like the Da Vinci Code and National Treasure take advantage of the idea that certain texts may hide secrets of power or lost knowledge that challenge human understanding. The very concept of a book being a portal to another dimension or reality is something that permeates science fiction, psychological horror, and occultism. The impact of these manuscripts is also strong in the world of games. Games like The Secret of the Voynich and Eternal Darkness have clearly been influenced by these texts, bringing forth the concept of books that distort reality and cause psychological damage to the characters. The Voynich Manuscript, for example, is often portrayed as a magical item or an esoteric artifact that can bring power but also danger and madness to those who dare to study it. This idea of a book as the key to a portal between worlds, which transforms the perception of those who read it, is a central theme in many horror and mystery games. Moreover, cursed manuscripts have also infiltrated modern esoteric traditions and occult practices. Many occult practitioners believe that the knowledge contained in these books, such as the Codex Gigas and the Book of Soyga, can open doors to supernatural forces or provide arcane wisdom that can be used to summon spirits or manipulate destiny. This makes these books seen as sacred artifacts with hidden powers that can alter reality in profound and unpredictable ways. Modern grimoires and books are inspired by these ancient manuscripts to create rituals and formulas that supposedly can summon entities or offer forbidden knowledge. But that's not all. These cursed books have also shaped the way we view knowledge. They are often portrayed as the symbol of forbidden knowledge, something that transcends the limits of human comprehension and can, if not treated with respect, destroy those who seek it. This creates an irresistible fascination, but also a reverent fear. The idea that hidden knowledge may be so powerful that upon reaching it, the person will lose themselves in the process. Today, these legends and myths continue to be a constant source of inspiration for content creators. The mere name of the Codex Gigas or the Voynich Manuscript is enough to evoke a sense of mystery, fear, and even irresistible curiosity. They have become symbols of dangerous wisdom that should not be touched without consequences. As we delve deeper into these cursed manuscripts, a crucial question arises. How far should we go in our search for answers? The enigmatic texts and symbols in these books challenge our understanding of the world, and many believe their messages may contain hidden truths that could transform our perception of reality. But the question remains, is it worth the risk? The search for these texts, whether to decipher them or simply to understand their power, is a journey that demands courage, and for some, profound sacrifices. Throughout history, many people have lost themselves in their obsession with unraveling the secrets of books like the Voynich Manuscript or the Codex Gigas. Scholars, occultists, and even adventurers who tried to explore these texts in search of forbidden knowledge encountered a terrifying reality. The price of wisdom can be too high, whether it's the psychological cost of an endless obsession, the loss of mental health, or even the feeling that these texts have the power to distort reality. The journey can consume those who try to understand them irreversibly. John Dee himself, after years of studying the Book of Soyga, eventually distanced himself from his work, fearing that the cost of his research was far beyond what he had imagined. The same happened to Wilfred Voynich, who died without ever unraveling the enigma of his manuscript, but with his mind shattered by obsession. The danger lies in how these books seem to weave an invisible web around those who approach them. It's not just about the content they contain, but about what they do too. The human mind. The search for answers can open doors to realities we are not prepared to face, and the consequences of crossing these boundaries can be irreversible. The scholars who seek these answers are not just dealing with texts. They are dealing with forces that can alter their own perception of the world. However, there are those who believe that in seeking to understand what these books hide, we are touching something much greater than mere human knowledge. The belief in portals to other dimensions, forgotten knowledge, or even the idea that these books hold secrets capable of changing the course of history continues to attract those who seek power and supernatural revelations. The question remains, is it worth the risk? The knowledge these books offer may be more than power. It could be a key to something beyond our understanding, something that challenges the laws of physics, morality, and even existence itself. But at the same time, this knowledge comes at a cost that may not only be mental or emotional, but existential. What happens when we face the unknown in such a profound way that our own identity begins to unravel? How far are we willing to go in search of answers that perhaps should never be revealed? This is the dilemma faced by those who venture into this forbidden territory. On one hand, there is an irresistible curiosity about what these texts might teach and an unrelenting thirst for knowledge. But on the other hand, there is the risk that by crossing these lines, we might lose more than just our peace of mind. We may lose our very perception of reality. So, the question persists for all who try to understand what these manuscripts truly mean. Is any secret worth the risk of destroying our own understanding of the world? And more importantly, what is the limit to the search for answers when we confront forces that may be far greater than ourselves? The future of cursed manuscripts is far from clear. Despite centuries of mystery, new discoveries and technologies continue to emerge, offering new possibilities to understand these enigmatic texts. Some believe we are on the verge of deciphering the secrets behind the Voynich Manuscript, or even unearthing more copies of lost books that possess the same hidden and terrifying power. Modern technology, such as artificial intelligence and new methods of analysis, may finally provide the answers that have eluded scholars for centuries. Some researchers are using advanced algorithms and quantum computing techniques to try to unravel codes and patterns that were beyond human capability. With these advances, there is a growing fascination that perhaps one day we will finally understand what is behind these texts and even uncover secret knowledge that could change our perception of the universe. But are we ready to deal with the consequences? What would happen if we were to finally decipher the Voynich Manuscript or access the secrets of the Codex Gigas? The questions they raise are not merely academic, they touch on the future of humanity. Would we be prepared for the hidden knowledge these works might reveal, or would we simply be opening doors to something beyond our comprehension? This thin line between the unknown and the dangerous will continue to fascinate humanity. And the question remains, is it worth the risk to try? To understand what these cursed texts hold? The future will tell, but one thing is certain. Human curiosity will never stop seeking answers, even if it means challenging the boundaries of reality. And now, I want to know what you think. What do you make of these stories and legends? Do you think any secret in these manuscripts is worth the risk? Leave your opinion in the comments below. I'd love to know what you think about all this. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like button and of course subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any content on mysteries, technology, and everything involving the darker side of human knowledge. The journey is just beginning, and with your subscription, you'll be part of this exploration. See you in the next video, where we'll dive even deeper into the unknown.